I done tussle with a whale. I done handcuff lightning, throw thunder in jail. That's bad. I know you got him picked, but the man's in trouble. I'm gonna show you how great I am.
I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one can stop me.
I don't want that person to come out because if he comes out, hell is coming with him.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Bust Lip Podcast. My name is Mark Pavlich, away in the Rock, the tall, cool one, TJ Harstein, and our special guest today, everybody. Oh, I'm going to call him this. And listen, there's people out there calling themselves this, and it's bullshit. He is a fitness guru, boxing trainer, fantastic dancer, fantastic. Let me tell you. So everybody, welcome to the podcast, the one and only AP, the real AP, Adrian Perez.
Thank you
What's
so
going on,
much,
man? How are
Mr.
you?
Mark. Appreciate it, TJ. Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate y'all.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Listen, we'll jump right into it real quick. We got lots of stuff to cover, but you know, as a guy in boxing as you are, how do you feel about the world of boxing right now? There's been like the last 5 years or so has been kind of wild. You know, we've had a lot of crazy new things happen. You know, that's made things go in different directions. But how do you feel about it right now? I feel like it's in a good spot.
Well, you know, boxing has a lot of weight classes that are going to be entertaining for at least the next, I say, 5 to 10 years, guaranteed.
Yeah.
And it is nice to have new faces involved. Dana White, you know, that's pretty big for us. You know, I think that should even out the playground or the playing field when it comes to guys that are on a lower tier of boxing that aren't at the tippity top level, which is, you know, very few guys and girls. And so, you know, women's boxing is picking up and, you know, there's a lot of exciting things happening. And then, you know, in my space, you know, it's still relatively new where in the fitness space, like we're being welcomed in as a modality that, you know, is competitive with a lot of the big brands that are out there.
Yeah, for sure. Have you heard much about the whole Dana White thing on the smaller sort of scale, like looking for fighters? Have you seen anybody kind of get contacted, any of that kind of stuff?
I haven't heard anything on my end, like at least in LA, like the whole boxing thing is like, you know, stays relatively the same and there's people who have their hands in it from all over, but all I see is the headlines. So
AP, what do you think about the trend? What trend do you see right now in the world that trainers are doing that is absolutely bullshit? Like, what's the one thing that you're seeing? Because listen, man, ladies and gentlemen watching this podcast, I implore you to go to Adrian's Instagram page. This guy you should be even bigger than you already are. Your energy is second to none. And I look at you, I never use that term on this show. You go check 170 something episodes to call a guy a fitness guru. I would call you legitimately, and I mean this in the most respectful way possible, a fitness guru. And what do you see out there that people are doing that you just kind of shake your head and go, why are you guys doing this?
Man, I appreciate that. Seriously, you speak way too highly of me. But to answer your question, I'd say we just have a lot of fraudulent people that are out there calling themselves, you know, boxing trainers when they have, you know, fitness trainer pedigrees, which is great. Like, you know, if you have the same education that I have from a textbook for, you know, getting people to lose weight or gain muscle, that's all fine and dandy. You know, I say stick to that because you're going to hit more people than a niche audience when it comes to boxing.
Sure.
But sometimes you'll get people that are hopping into boxing and you look at the way they train and the way they train their clients and the way they box themselves and you're like, okay, you should probably get a little more experience under your belt because like when it comes to learning how to lift weights in the gym and when it comes to learning how to lose weight, nutrition, there's all these different things you could do. You can take college courses on it. You could read different textbooks that are going to get you certified, but you won't get that same level of education in boxing. You got to go to the boxing gym. That's the only way to do it.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
I wish more trainers that are popular out there would spend more time at the boxing gym before they start taking on clients to train them in boxing.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, well, you see, I think the thing about boxing too with fitness is that there's so many new, like this new concept of like, whether it's like box to fit or whatever, where you go in there, you got like 25 people, crazy lights going and stuff like that, and then everybody's like, "Oh, I've been boxing for like 4 years," and it's like, "Oh, that's so cool. Where do you go?" And I think that there's like a conflation between the two that kind of gets that sort of makes that happen. But I mean, boxing's sort of one of those things in fitness though that kind of looks a little bit more sexy. You get to be, I'm a trainer, but I'm also a tough guy. You know what I mean? So it does create that a little bit.
It's nice, man. There's a little more fluff on it.
What do you think of stuff like right now, what I see online all the time is now body positive, right? And I'm cool with all that kind of stuff. But what I think we're doing at the same time is we're glorifying being heavy. So, and I'm not putting anybody down. Listen, if you're male, female, when you watch this podcast religiously, if you are overweight, listen, I'm down with your cause, whatever you want to do. But what I'm trying to tell you is like I keep hearing this phase, body positive, and what I'm seeing now is they're glorifying being heavy. And I'm like, I don't want people to be heavy because we know heart disease and we know the rest of the stuff that goes along with that. Do you see that where you are?
I mean, I think you see it across every spectrum, whether it's entertainment, whether it's on any magazine you look at.
Yeah.
It's a lot more accepted to have people that have different shapes. And, for the most part, a lot of stuff is out of your control. If you're not, I don't blame you for not wanting to be somebody who counts calories, is just completely obsessed with aesthetic and being in the gym. There's obviously like the guys that you'll see performing on a boxing night or an MMA fight or kickboxing, whatever you'll see them competing at, and they'll get torched by a guy who's got a belly beer,
beer belly, yeah.
Got a beer belly.
For sure.
Yeah. And it happens in all spectrums. And so it depends for me on performance. If you're focused on performance, aesthetic, it comes last. Like, we're here to train you, like to get you to perform better if you're actually a competitive athlete, or if you're not, we don't need to be focused on aesthetic, to be like as long as you're living a healthy lifestyle and like it's a net positive.
Yes.
To get there, whatever happened yesterday or the month before, as long as we have consecutive days that are moving towards a positive thing and we're honest with ourselves, then, I don't lie to my clients. And I would hope that it doesn't happen across the board where other people are dishonest with people and the results that they could potentially see. But, in today's world, we have a body positive movement, which is, it's an age of consumerism. We eat too much, we buy too much, and that's just the bottom line. And it's funny because we have more access now to information. And
do we ever? Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah, so I think people can do the math themselves. You would hope, but it is what it is. It's out of my control.
We got Ozempic now too, so if you just when you need to,
see what I'm saying? Like,
you
see
cut
what I'm saying? It's out there.
Yeah. But it's crazy because I think, as we get this kind of like entitled, the world these days is a little bit more entitled to things, online, things happen fast. So you're getting this kind of like instant gratification. And, working out and eating healthy in general has been a thing for forever. It's always been, if you're a little heavy, you can do certain things and you can lose that weight, you can get in better shape. And then all of a sudden Ozempic hits and everybody's like, there it is. That's my answer. I can just get this done really quick. But at the end of the day, they could just go and follow, whether it's somebody like yourself or someone that's actually giving them information that's going to give them a healthier, longevity to their life, as opposed to just like a quick answer. So I'm curious where all that stuff goes, but
we'll see.
Yeah.
I still follow, like, there's no magic pill that you can take. You still got to put in work in the gym.
It's the truth.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. You still got to put in work in the gym if you expect to see results, or if you want to see results faster, at least.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Do you believe in the cheat meal?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. What's your cheat meal? What's your cheat meal? What's your cheat meal when you're rolling along on your diet? What's your big cheat meal on Sunday?
I'm really lucky that it's down the street from me because I live in sunny Southern California. I don't know if you boys can tell. I got the outdoor lighting going on.
Oh, come on.
I know. I'm very
Why
sorry,
you doing
boys.
that?
I know it's a little cold out there in Edmonton. Go Oilers, but
I'm in Vancouver.
Yeah, TJ's in Vancouver. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. It's a little warmer over here.
I trained a client from Vancouver earlier today. I'm just
nice.
I got love for my Canucks. But
there you go.
In-N-Out Burgers right up the street, and you'll hear from other people from different regions of the United States, or what, because we don't have any In-N-Out Burgers in Canada or too spread out across the United States, at least in New York, and that's a huge market. But people like to compete. They're like, nah, Shake Shack's better. No, this burger's. I'm like, I don't know.
In-N-Out's the shit.
To me,
In-N-Out's the shit.
You can't beat In-N-Out.
You
this
cannot.
guy knows. You know your stuff. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably correct, for sure. A good burger is a good burger. At the end of the day, man, it's...
Also, in the current state of our economy, that's still a burger that is relatively easy on your wallet. So.
That's right. That's right.
This is true, because nothing is cheap anymore, you know what I mean? So to get something cheap that actually tastes that good, and it satisfies that craving, get out of here,
You get a hamburger in Edmonton right now, you're looking at $20 a hamburger. Like it's bananas.
Ooh.
Like it's so expensive here for everything. And you'd say to yourself, why is it so expensive? Because it's so cold. But this is where the oil is, right? So that's why everybody's like, hey, they want their hands on that oil, right? So
you can get a house for like $4 in Edmonton, so it's not.
Yeah, you cannot. But no, you cannot. No, you cannot.
Compared to Vancouver and
Vancouver, forget it. Forget it.
Yeah. Adrian, what do you think is sort of like one of the biggest stumbling blocks people have when it comes to getting in shape? Because I feel like, there's a lot of start-stop that goes on.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously you work with many, many clients, but what do you feel is the one thing that you see over and over again that continues to give people a hard time?
Well, as you said, the start-stop, the lack of consistency across the board. You get too busy with life. You're working all the time. You have kids, you have a family, you have a career, whatever it is that's in your way of staying consistent. It's not easy to do it every day.
No.
Even if it's something very minimal, like taking a walk, that's all stuff that people don't think like adds up. But as we get older as human beings, our level of activity decreases, our cortisol level decrease. And, naturally we age. And with that aging, you can slow down your metabolic rate very easily by having a sedentary lifestyle. And that's pretty much like anybody I know over the age of 30, 40, they are a lot less active. I myself am it feels like I'm a lot less active than when I was a kid. I was out running around all the time.
Yeah,
I wasn't part of the iPad generation, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, just getting up and, being consistent with getting daily activity beyond the gym is something that most people have a difficult time doing.
Were you in the corner for Vlad's last fight?
Unfortunately, I was not. And, I'm really sad that I wasn't, man.
Did you watch the fight?
Yeah, I watched the whole fight.
What do you think?
I mean, I don't want to critique too much, because that's a really good friend of mine. I've known Vlad for a long time, and
I've
had the luxury of working his corner for a while. But I will say, it just seemed that there was some things that he's really good at that he didn't do that night. As simple as that. Yeah. And, if you could go back and turn the clock, and he could do that fight over, I think he dominates him. But the tough part is, like, in the situation, it wasn't like a big enough name to be like, oh, we need to demand a rematch to get this back,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's a cruel world, eh? That boxing world's so cruel at times, ain't it?
Yeah.
It
So
really
that's
is.
the thing, with like guys like Dana White coming in, because what he did with the UFC is these guys can fight the best competition, take a loss or 2 or 3 or 4 losses. In a row
it's not going to be a big deal.
Come back.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm in full confidence that Vlad's going to turn it around and he's going to still have a lot coming his way.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, though. I think it's the Floyd Mayweather syndrome. Like, everybody thinks you have to be perfect in boxing, and I think that's where that's where boxing's made the biggest mistake of all, because we still want to watch the best fights. We want to see the best people fight. We want to see people fight, and that's the number one thing we want to see. But Dana coming into it now, I think he understands that. He doesn't really. It's not about perfect against perfect, because that's what everybody thinks in boxing, and that's not the case.
Well, that's the thing. The money in boxing is so like everybody gets their hand in the pot.
That's
and
right.
It's just who can kind of understand the leverage that they have and that their team has. And when all the money's being bought at the gate, every ticket, every pay-per-view sale, and it's not a sanctioning body controlling it. It's being done in people's offices or on the phone. And once the contracts are rolled out, that's just how it is. And if you're not the guy that's already at the top demanding how things are going to play out, then, one, it's going to it does slow down business. We don't see the fights that we want to see till later on down the line. And,
Always.
But the positive is that when you pass that threshold of the Canelos, the Crawfords, the Floyd Mayweathers, the ball's in your court and you are going to get paid every time you go out there and perform.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it seems like it's changing now, though. I think that, like you said, with Dana White coming in, different minds getting a hold of the sport, realizing that the key to success in sports entertainment is entertainment. So putting on the best fights possible and the guys that are going to be the best against each other is going to eventually be the only way for them to be successful. So I think that's going in the right direction. But speaking of Canelo and Crawford, what do you think about that fight?
Man, the fight, as time goes on, feels like it edges closer and closer to Terrence Crawford, especially after his last performance. And man, it's tough
to call.
Me personally, I'm still under the presumption that Canelo is too experienced and too big naturally.
Yeah,
I mean, they are the same size relatively naturally, but Canelo's been fighting at the higher weight classes longer.
Yeah, he has.
But if anybody who fought at 135 to 140 to 147 and dominated all those weight classes like Terrence Crawford has, it is a guy like Terrence Crawford who, with that type of style, that worries me with a guy like Canelo.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yeah.
I can see Canelo he doesn't throw as much as he used to. The
Yeah.
volume and combinations aren't the same. But he's also fought way bigger dudes. So like,
Yeah.
you know, the styles make the fights here, and it's unfortunate that Terrence Crawford is a really tough style for
It
Canelo.
is.
It is for sure. 100%.
AP, do you see yourself? Do you prefer more the training aspect, or is it you with professional athletes? Is that more of a buzz for you, or which one is the? Because like when you're at night, you're looking at yourself, or even when you're in the gym by yourself, because you can move well too as well when you're boxing, right? And you're sitting there looking in the mirror. What do you say to yourself? Oh, listen, man, I'm going to turn this fitness thing into something like gigantic. Or do you see yourself when you're working with professional athletes in the boxing world, say to yourself, oh my God, I can train someone to a world title. I know I can. I know I can. I know I can. Like, what's going through your brain?
Yeah, man. That's a really, really good question, because I mean, personally, I do my stuff in the boxing gym almost part-time compared to all the work I do in fitness in the last few years. But you know, being in LA, it makes it such a luxury to be in this market because there's boxing gyms everywhere. So if I have a fighter or I have a friend who's in training camp, or if I have a fighter under me who's in training camp, finding sparring and getting work is really
Not hard.
easy.
Not hard. Yeah.
No, and especially in certain weight classes, and being connected in that space makes it a lot easier. But to be completely honest, the rewards financially aren't the same compared to fitness.
Correct.
And I do feel like I'm better suited for the fitness, because you know, I see the guys around my age bracket that are coaching fighters. Sorry about that. I got this.
It's LA, baby. We know it.
It's LA. It's a noisy city, but. You know, I see like my peers that are in the space full time and they're fully committed to it. You know, like, you know, my boy Jonathan Wally, who's Vlad's head coach head coach of a lot of guys, and a guy like Julian Chua, who's Zudo Ramirez's coach. These are guys that are like I've known since I got into boxing, who, you know, all fought in the amateurs, and it's just crazy how far they've come as head coaches for fighters.
It's a grind, though. It's a big grind, though, to get to that.
I see what they sacrifice. They sacrifice.
100%.
And I know that it's not something easy, and it's not something I would ever take lightly, because these are people's lives you have in your hand. You know,
Correct.
and you have to do the job very well, I think. And I would do the job very well if I'm fully committed to it. So, like, to me, at the point where I am now in fitness, it's nice to have, like, the assistant job or just the specialist on the mitts job. Like, to me, that's very rewarding. Like, it's fulfilling for me beyond, you know, the finances.
How many students I don't want to say clients, but how many students do you have now?
That's a good question, too, man, because I do
like
have
lots,
like a roster of, like, clients. Yeah, it's
you have
daily.
lots.
I have clients, you know. Like, I did 4 sessions before I got to this call with you guys, you know. And, oh, no, here come the boys, man. Oh, no, you hear that? Oh, no.
Sessions,
no, but anyway.
Said, right?
Yeah. So, you know, I got a lot of clients, man, and I teach large group fitness classes, and I've been doing that for a long time.
Yeah.
So, beyond that, I filmed a lot of workouts that are all on demand, and I've done that for the last few years. So I have clients that are digital. I have clients that come and see me every week in my group classes, and I get up to 60 people in the room for one class.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I have my private training that I do. And then on top of that, if I have a fighter that's in training camp who I work with, I can assist in the training camp and move around my schedule to do that. So I'm really lucky to have a schedule that I can move around.
Is it me that? But I
know
notice a lot of female. I'm just pointing it out. I'm just pointing it out.
No,
a lot of female clients you have. I noticed that.
Yeah. So it's a lot more. Well, I do find that, like, you guys understand it, right? Where most guys think they can fight, even though they can't.
They cannot.
That's for sure.
They cannot.
For a guy to come into a situation where they have to, you know, humble themselves and let another dude tell them that they suck at this, and we can, you know, we could.
AP, it's the best thing they could do for their life, though. It's the best thing you could do for your life. The best thing you could do for your life. I've been in martial arts my entire life. I stopped sparring at 50. Okay, and that was my last sparring partner that you're looking at right in the middle there. And he's much younger and he's much more athletic than I am. Even at my best, he was still more athletic. So,
you did well into your 50s.
But what I'm saying is that you're right about that, and that's something different what you just mentioned, because it's not even funny that men won't come for what you just said. That's a deficiency in men's brains that they won't. Kind of like put them, like, figure this shit out. You know, you see that guy that comes in there and he's like holding his fist really tight and he wants to, like, you know, even in the sparring gyms, it's like, dude, bring it down. You'll find out, you'll find this peace in your life once you actually know how to fight. It's crazy.
Pride crushing progress though.
Yeah, correct.
That's what happens with a lot of guys, right? So I'm good. I know what I'm doing, whatever the case. And then you go in and, like Mark said, I think and you've probably seen it with a lot of your clients as well. The second they start to get a little bit of that feeling, it is a complete change in their attitude and their motivation as well, because now they have something that's very addicting that also ties into fitness, which is why boxing is great. You know?
Yeah, so it's great across all spectrums, and so that is definitely true. Where there's a lot more females in the boxing gym, at least where I'm at. You know, it is catered to them for the most part. You know, the fitness side of it, and yeah, they're a lot easier to teach. It seems like, you know, girls tend to like be a little more malleable when it comes to learning some technique and being somebody who's
looser too, right? Like they're looser when they're boxing. They really are. There's no question.
Yeah, girls seem to pick it up a little bit because, you know, men naturally just have, you know, more athleticism and stronger bone density. A lot of things working in guys' favor to, like, just hit really hard.
Hammer the
so
pad,
beyond learning that, it's like, dude, if I hit somebody with this one time, they're going to sleep. You know? Yeah. And like, for all you know, they probably punched a dude at the bar before and saw that happen. And they're like, oh, yeah, dude, I hit hard. And, like, but, you know, in a setting where, you know, it's not a drunk fight and you're going for longer than a minute, then let's see how you handle yourself with somebody who's competent and knows what they're doing. And
I think men in general need to double down on what you're teaching for the sole listen, like you teach the females, okay, more of a exercise kind of thing, but how you get more clients that are men that really want to know how to box. And I think it's mandatory in this day and age that you do spend money on yourself to do so, because you're spending money on the dumbest shit out there right now. But when you want to protect your family, you go to the movies one night and something happens. You don't have a way to protect yourself. I'm telling all the men that watch this podcast, you're in Los Angeles area, you're in the area of where AP is. I'm pretty sure you take on clients like that. You know what I mean? That guys need to know how to defend themselves. And as we all three of us know on this podcast today, 90% of men do not.
No, very true.
Do not. And I love the guy in the gym, you know, like the guy that's pushing the 5 pies in the gym, saying he could be the one. And those were my favorite guys to always fight, you know, like I loved it. It was like, oh my God, you're going to look so great on my resume. And, you know, cause I couldn't even roll the weight that you're lifting. You know what I mean? I couldn't even roll it, let alone pick it up. But I was like, no, I'm going to choke this guy out unconscious, right? Like I'm going to, you know, and it's like, but what I'm trying to tell guys there, I'm like, you have to learn this, because when I had my martial arts school back in the day and I used to train guys in the UFC, I used to have guys come in the door all the time and they'd be like, oh yeah, I was at the mall and these 3 guys kind of like were coming towards my family and I didn't know what to do. And I said, bro, that's not the only reason. You have to make this part of your life. You have to make this like a thing, like your wife's going grocery shopping. You come to school every day and learn how to fight. You know what I'm saying? Like spend an hour of a day just learning the basics of how to get yourself out of trouble. And if you're with your family, and I'm telling you that most men don't know how to do that.
Yeah, it's very true, man.
No, for sure. True. Adrian, what do you think about and I would imagine you see it, the mental health benefit of not only just learning how to fight, which I think for men, for both men and women, I mean, it's just being confident in yourself and feeling capable is always a good thing, but just fitness in general. I'm sure you deal with the clients that have ups and downs with it, when they're consistent, when they're not, but how stark of a difference is there in somebody's mental health, fit versus not fit?
I mean, I think we all can look back on a time when we were younger, leaner, and be like, oh man, I felt better back then. You know, I think anybody could go through that. So maybe like you were walking around more because you were at school, you were playing sports, you were on a team, and just that activity without really having the stress of day-to-day life. You're like, oh man, like being active and feeling like you're strong in your body is something that nobody can take away from you. And, you know, but at the same time, nobody can hand it over to you. So you have to be consistent, and without it, you'll start to find that like, oh man, when I lack consistency in my own fitness regimen or martial arts training, whatever it may be, when I'm not in the gym, I do feel like less proud of myself, less fulfilled.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
for
I,
sure.
I feel, you know, a little flabbier around the edges. I'm like, you know what? I got to stay in the gym. Like, and
Yeah.
then that's when like, it's funny how the aesthetic and the confidence and the actual skills you learn in martial arts, it all ties in together where you're going to have,
Yeah, it does.
you know, just a little bit more resilience mentally for different things. Because if you can handle, you know, a sparring partner in the ring, or if you can handle a lot of heavy weight in the gym, it does make other things that happen in life that are going to happen no matter what out of your control. It makes them feel like they're a lot less impactful in a negative way in your life because you have this locked in, you know?
Don't
Yeah,
you think boxing
for sure.
too kind of teaches you more things besides just boxing for life? Like,
Mm-hmm.
like it's weird how if you approach life like boxing, it's weird how it translates over. Like, you know, like everybody doesn't understand that until you start doing it. But then when you start to learn how to fight correctly, it's weird how your life becomes way more peaceful in other areas.
It's very true, man. You
Yeah.
know, you find the peace from being in the gym and, you know, in your solitude of consistent training in boxing. You find, I mean, I can just see like the way that I would be quicker to engage in a fight at a bar or in a fight, like just, you know, in a random situation where
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm going to put my life in danger to fight because my ego's hurt.
Hmm.
And you know, by the time I started boxing, which was late, I was 18, 19, 20.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, so like that's late compared to most of my peers. And I was
Yep.
like, I would see guys that were like 17 while I'm 21. And I'm like, oh, this guy's still in high school. I'm gonna mess this dude up. And then he looks unassuming. He has glasses, whatever, and he'll serve me for however many rounds that we sparred.
Yeah.
He might have been a national champ, and I didn't know. And like,
Oh, yeah.
I just took a look at him, and
Yeah.
and I just assumed like, nah, I could take this guy. And then, bing, I'm getting messed up, and I'm getting beat up. And I'm like, okay, this makes you a lot more humble of an athlete, or at least a lot more humble of a person because you've experienced these things.
I used to bring in. I used to bring in a 16-year-old kid, 16-year-old Gold Gloves kid, to spar against guys that I had that were in the UFC, and they used to say to me all the time, "Oh, Mark, I'm not going to put headgear on." I'm like, "Bro, you need to put headgear on with this kid, man." And they're like, "Mark, come on, I'm in the UFC, man. What are you talking about, right?" And this 16-year-old kid used to light them up, bro. It was so funny. I after the first round, they came back every time going, "Give me the headgear," because this kid was just so structurally perfect. And they were like, "How old's this kid, Mark?" And I'm like, "He's 16, bro." No video cameras allowed, no pictures, no nothing, because now you see that shit all the time, right? They're videotaping sparring sessions, and guys are
TikTok all
releasing
the
that
time.
stuff. That's like a sin where I come from. Like that's unheard of. Now all of a sudden it's
Still,
like,
yeah.
is it still?
is,
Because
man.
in the real world it should be.
Yeah. Yeah, no, at least in the
Yeah.
gyms that I go to in LA, like you don't do that.
No, you do not. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like I don't understand this new culture of like, oh yeah, look, we're going to release the tape of us sparring. And I'm like, really? No, we used to videotape ourselves for ourselves, and we used to share our stuff with each other. That's how we did it. We wouldn't put it on social media to embarrass our sparring partners.
It's a quick way to burn bridges because you know when you go
Totally.
to different gyms to spar, you don't, especially if you got guys at a high caliber. You know, when you see guys sneaking in cameras and like it ends up on Instagram somehow, you're like, oh, come on, man, like.
Oh, it's douchey as
it
shit.
puts you in a bad.
Yeah.
You won't end up. You know, you'll build a poor relationship and you'll build poor rapport with other trainers around because they won't bring guys to your gym if that's what you're doing. You know, it's tough.
Definitely.
But I get it. You know, if you want to market yourself and like, you know, but it's a blessing and a curse because a guy like Devin Haney's a prime example of like, look at all the sparring footage he put up before he even turned professional. Everybody knew about him while he was in the amateurs already because he had
Yeah.
however many hundreds of thousands of followers. So I do see the benefit to it. But, you know, when it's at the expense of like, you know, just other guys' careers, I do find that, and like, because you're taking money out of people's pockets once they see some sparring footage. It's sparring. People get hurt in sparring. People hurt other
The
people in
best in the
sparring.
world get hurt in sparring.
You see what I'm saying? Like you never know what part of training camp this is in, and it might, you know, when it comes to the negotiating table, especially in boxing, like, oh yeah, that footage came out of you getting dropped by a guy who was like three weight classes lighter than you.
Yeah.
And but you don't know what part of training camp that guy was in, and like, but like I
Or
said,
which
you
round
might
it
be
was.
taking money. Correct. So
It's the same
you
thing.
might not know that. Sorry,
Same
go
thing
ahead.
in the jiu-jitsu world, you know, like as you know, TJ, it's like sometimes back in the day, I'd be rolling with guys and I would put myself in rear naked choke 10 times in a row. Like I'd put myself there and then the person would try to be choking me out. And I'm like, in one of the 10 times they would get me, but I was putting myself in that position because I was working on that for myself. Now, in the videotape era, if people were seeing that, they're like, "Oh, this guy got choked out by this kid." You know, that's not the case, man. Same with boxing too. When we used to box, sometimes when there was lesser guys in the gym, I would just use my left hand the whole time. Like I would just jab. You know what I mean? And I would never throw a right hand. I would throw a hook only off the left hand, whatever the case may be. You know, if you're videotaping this, I could get caught. There's no question I can get caught, right?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like when I see these people releasing it now, I'm like, man, there's something about that. I grew up in Detroit right at Kronk Gym, man, and I'm telling you, you just did. No one filmed nothing. Like it was just unheard of. When I saw Jake Paul and his brother start to like release that stuff, I'm like, oh, you guys must not got the memo. You know what I mean?
You know what's interesting though, like with speaking of the Paul brothers. All the YouTube boxing, the freak show boxing, all that kind of stuff. I don't know how you feel about it. I mean, when it first started, I think everybody in boxing was a little bit, you know, sort of against that sort of stuff because it just felt like it wasn't part of boxing. But the amount of eyes, the amount of change it's brought now, looking back on it, maybe, and again, I don't know if you feel the same or different. I appreciate what it brought. I don't know if I'm okay now. It can get out of here again, but for a while,
it was okay for a while now.
Yeah, it's doing its thing. How did you feel about it from when it started up and where it is now?
I mean, when it started off, I was, you know, kind of bitter about it because I'm like, man, like there's so many guys I know that are way more experienced and way more talented than me that never turn professional. You know, it's because of the finances behind it. And like, they don't, you know, the whole social media thing still like, you know, within like the last decade, you could consider it new. But I know a lot of guys that never turn professional in boxing. And like, to me, I'm like, dude, like, what is this? Like, and then I started seeing, you know, the money coming around and I'm like, okay, like, cause I've cornered a few of these fights and I've done training camps with Wally for a few of these really big fights and the money's really good, you know? And the thing is, when you're coaching fighters all day long, it's very rare that you're going to pick up a fighter that's going to actually, you know, put money in your pocket based on a fight purse or a training camp.
Yeah.
So when you have guys that already are established financially and they have followings on IG or YouTube or whatever platform that they use to garner a following, when they decide to go into the influencer boxing space, as long as they're taking it seriously and the competition is fair, because that's also a difficult thing is you'll see poor matchups. I'm like, dude, this guy's he's way better. He's fought on the card before. You never know. You see a lot more mismatches in that. So that's where I start to feel like, okay, that's where I have issues with it. But like if you're a consenting adult and I mean, I don't know if I'm like helping out. We're thinking about matchups and we don't want to be poorly matched up for somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience. That's from the amateurs or to do it in the professional ranks on TV with a bunch of people watching. You know, it's a tough thing to put somebody through, and I wouldn't recommend it. But if you feel like that's the space you want to get into, I'm all for it. Like, you know, do it in any way you can. And you might as well get paid for it because I know guys with 20, 30, 40, 50 amateur fights that never turned pro and they've never made money off of boxing.
Nothing.
So you might as well.
Yeah.
For sure. What did you think when you heard the rumors about Paul and Canelo? Do you think that was actually going to come to fruition?
No.
No.
I thought that was silly from the jump. And like, you know, I mean, the thing is, initially when Jake Paul first started, you can say what you want, but now like, all right, he's definitely a threat. The dude, he's a big dude and he's got a lot of experience and he's got power.
Yeah. He's got accuracy too, man. He finds the chin.
He trains hard, and like I know some of his sparring partners. I know guys that have trained with him, and like he works his ass off. You know, he's one of the guys who there's very few influencers in the space.
He caught up.
You can see it. You can see the work he puts in. I mean, I've said since the beginning that probably the people that deserve the most credit are the people that are making the matchups because they seem to be able to find these people that are like have a name, look dangerous, but are in this unique spot in their career where they're not really as dangerous. But I mean, they are still dangerous enough for an influencer who didn't fight his whole life to then start doing this. But now, like you said, you look at it and I mean, like he's not an easy fight really for a lot of people. If he's fighting somebody his size and all that sort of stuff with experience, it's different. But he's going after guys that are a little younger, a little smaller, a little older. You know, and it's you know,
but
the only one he ever fought
when you're the guy.
Yeah. Don't forget guys, he lost to Tommy Fury.
He sure did.
So keep that. Yeah, you got to keep perspective.
His age that was actually fighting.
That's what people don't understand. Like you're talking Canelo. Canelo said, "Come to spar with me in the gym, and you can put all the video cameras you want out and see what happens." You understand? Canelo could kill him. Like I'm not even making like he could kill him. And people don't understand like that level of boxing. Like the punching power is astronomically different between Tommy Fury and Canelo.
But Canelo is still 30 pounds lighter than him.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
but again,
The
that's
degree
different.
of separation from whether you have 5 years of experience or I don't care who you are, like that degree of separation is a long shot. You know, and people probably don't read that. I mean, I think most boxing fans can. And the thing is, on paper, it still doesn't look good. You're like, oh, man, that guy got knocked out by the YouTuber. I'm like, all right, well, you could keep calling him the YouTuber, which is fair, but he's got 5, 6, 7 years of experience fighting.
Yeah, we're
on
past
TV.
that now. We're past
all he does.
Yeah.
He's been under the lights. He's
Yeah,
got
we're
some
past the
experience
YouTube
other guys
stuff.
would-
Yeah.
He's not YouTube. But the Canelo thing now, I guess that now Anthony Joshua is saying that he's going to fight him, which is pretty wild. That's absolutely
That's
insane.
even worse.
I don't even think a commission will make that. I don't think they would do it. That's crazy.
Oh no, there's commissions out there that'll do anything now.
Yeah, I know.
They've established that there is commissions
The
out there.
money's right.
Yeah, everybody's getting paid. They don't give a shit. They'll find some way to make it happen. Yeah.
Joshua fought,
Ngannou.
Ngannou. You
Yeah.
know, like he had no shame in doing that. And, you know, he's like, all right, line him up. Like, it's an easier fight than Deontay Wilder, you know?
Way easier,
Totally.
yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. I was happy
still
that
make a lot of money.
Man, as much as I love Francis Ngannou, I'm a big MMA fan as well, and he's great. He's got a great story and all that sort of stuff. But when that happened, I boxed since I was a little kid. That kid in me was so happy that boxing finally showed everybody like, listen, this is a different thing.
It is.
Not what you think it is. Like this is yes, Francis is big. He hits hard. Tyson Fury didn't really take him serious, and whatever you want to say about that. But man, did Joshua put on it was intense. That's for sure.
The degree of separation really shows. You know,
Big time.
Yeah, but you know that's why you don't see MMA guys. Like literally, I used to tell guys all the time when I was a kid. When I was with my son, not a kid. When I was a young adult with my son, we were at Johnny Taco's gym in Las Vegas, and I was just inside the gym, right? And it's in a really seedy area in Las Vegas, and so I went to Johnny Taco's gym. I'm inside there, and I'm moving around, and they say to me, "Hey, Mark, you want to spar this guy over here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." But I saw who it was, right? I knew who the guy was, and so do you guys. And he wasn't a boxer; he was an MMA guy, and. I wouldn't spar the guy that was sweeping the floor in Johnny Taco's gym. Like I wouldn't spar him. You understand that? Like this is the reality of this is the level we're talking about. So I go inside and I'm sparring the guy, 3-4 rounds, and he says, "Did you box before?" And I took off my headgear, and he goes, "Oh my God, you're the guy that used to own the MFC." And I started laughing, right? And he was a former UFC champ, but he wanted to box. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, as you know, TJ, you've boxed like high level MMA guys, and you saw the difference. It's just not. It's night and day difference.
The difference between boxing as a kid versus boxing, it is what it is. If you do something from a young age and you continue with it, it just doesn't translate the same as somebody that's talented and athletic that maybe starts in 22, 23 years old. They wrestled their whole life. There's a difference in that movement. There's a difference in the timing. There's a difference in the setups and all that sort of stuff. And it shows. And it showed obviously with the Ngannou fight, maybe back with Conor and Mayweather, all of that stuff. It's always going to show. And this is the same reason we don't see the boxers flip over to MMA.
Correct.
I mean,
exactly.
Is the A side still as much as everybody wants to say that MMA is the A side. It's not. Boxing still holds the real money. You look. That's why Conor jumped over and made all that money. Yeah. And then you're not going to see, Anthony Joshua go and take an MMA fight with Ngannou. That's not going to happen.
But did you know, you can notice too, though, in boxing, the guys that had a big amateur career and then became pro boxers and the guys that didn't and became pro boxers, there's a significant difference. You can tell all the guys, only people in boxing can tell this. Listen, the common fan, you can get mad all you want. You can send shit all to me all you want to. You can't tell the difference. Only people in the boxing world can tell the difference between a guy that had 100 amateur fights and then became a pro boxer, or 200 or 300 amateur fights and became a pro boxer, or the guy that had 4 and then became a pro boxer. It's night and day difference.
Very true.
Amateur boxers.
And to your point, like that whole thing of Conor and Floyd, it was going to be Conor going to boxing and no other way around. You're not going to see a professional boxer, one of the best in the world. I mean, we saw James Toney get in there, and like he was an older gentleman, and I think To be honest, he got lucky where he didn't have to take a bunch of leg kicks. But like, can you imagine?
They
like,
should arrested.
Mayweather?
They should arrested the UFC for doing that fight, though. They should have been thrown in jail for doing that fight. We all knew it was going to happen. They put him against Randy Couture, and we were like, really, you should have been arrested. Dana White should have been took away in handcuffs for putting that fight.
You knew he was in a great. You don't wrestle a wrestler, dude. Especially if you don't know how to wrestle. That's just a dumb idea. You know, and
very bad idea.
A lot of people don't know. Even guys in boxing gyms, they might still think, "Nah, man. If he shoots, I'm gonna."
No.
Okay, bro. You can say that all you want, but like, you know, that's a maybe. If he grabs you, though, to me that's more of a guarantee that he'll grab you and ragdoll you.
That's right.
Than you stepping back and timing a perfect shot.
That's a 1,000 shot.
Even if you're really, really good. Even if you're really, really good.
Yeah.
And or if you're dealing with a kickboxer and he starts kicking your leg out, and all of a sudden your boxing stance is useless because you're a little bit wider than this guy. It's a whole thing where you have to respect MMA for what it is, and that's MMA to boxing too. You know, like you don't just hop into boxing expecting to whip a guy's ass who has a lot more experience than you.
That's why you don't see a lot of UFC guys hanging out at the Vegas boxing gyms. You don't. You see them at.
Let me ask you this though. What do you see when it comes to the MMA guys that transition to bare knuckle boxing against pure boxers? Have you guys taken a look at that stuff?
Yeah, that's a weird one.
Yeah, it is weird.
They've been beating boxers.
Because you can clinch. You're allowed to clinch. And in boxing, you're not allowed to clinch. You can grab the back of the neck. You can grab the back of the neck. You can clinch fight too, right? Which changes the whole dynamic of everything. We've had a bunch of bare knuckle guys on the podcast, and they come from MMA backgrounds, and they're become very successful. In fact, 2 of them are champs in bare knuckle.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, yeah, because they can grab the back of the head, they can fight in the clinch. They're not going to break it up, but I don't know, man. Like it's that's a different sport altogether.
I don't get
different sport, man.
Yeah, I think the damage that happens from the smaller shots changes the game a little bit too.
Yes.
Because in boxing, you're using a jab to create distance. You're not necessarily damaging that much. I mean, some guys have a great jab that's very stiff, that's it's dangerous, but usually it's a setup. But even those smaller shots in bare knuckle, you're seeing them bust open cuts. You're seeing that change the way the fight's moving around. Now guys are thinking about how to get around. Like it's a bit
also,
different.
The damage that you take in delivering the shot on a guy. When it's
definitely.
It's a whole different thing. And it's different than it's different when you're punching somebody on the schoolyard and you're in one of those fights or you're at a bar or something. But it's nothing punching somebody who's professionally trained in this, just as you are, fully prepared. You know what's going to happen. Like if you turn a knuckle over and you just kind of hit him somewhere in the forehead, it's going to hurt. And like some guys can deal with it better. But it does seem that the MMA guys tend to kind of even out the playing field a little bit in that sport, at least.
I think it could be a little bit of defensive thing as well, because if you think about boxing, you're boxing with 10 ounce gloves, whatever the case may be. When you're jumping down to bare knuckle, you're going to nothing, right? You get just tape. In MMA, you're basically using nothing, so you're used to having that lack of defense. Versus in boxing, shelling up, it doesn't work as well. You're using small gloves or so, when you come back to say you feel comfortable here, but you're still getting clipped by everything. I don't know. It's a great point because it's funny how that's happening. I cornered
one bare knuckle fight ever.
Wow.
And the fight got fight of the night, but man, was that like a tough matchup and just
super intense.
Just a whole new ball game. It's
super
a different
intense
sport. Like
totally.
Everything that we do that's boxing worked for the first 3 rounds. And, when it came to choosing a training camp, this is a guy that I had been training holding mitts for and stuff. And when we get the back of our necks held by a guy who knows what they're doing and has experience in this, whether it's Muay Thai or whether it's MMA, you're getting ragdolled. And it's a tough thing to really train for if you've never done it. So it's almost like, man, I did that one time. I don't know if I'll ever do that again. And
it's
blowing up though right now. It's
huge.
blowing up.
Huge.
Yeah, Connor wants to do it now. Connor's saying he wants to do it. How do you set up sparring for that? Like, can you? I've sparred MMA stuff before, so I know how we do that. But in bare knuckle, did you try to simulate it somehow?
I don't want to talk like I'm an expert because we ended up with a draw. So for what I saw, we did what we did for the first 3 rounds and dominated. I mean, we dominated the first 2, and then the third could have been it could have been a split. And then the last 2, I would probably give it to the opponent. But training for was just we're gonna box this guy. It's 2 minutes, 5 rounds. We're not gonna let this guy get close. So we train boxing to keep the guy at the end of our jab. And every time he would run into the hook, and he ran into a lot of stuff that we worked on in training camp. But, when we drill different inside stuff, it doesn't matter how much we drill, how much we sparred. When the guy had that much more experience in it, he was prepared to die out there. And when that happens, and
it's a different
your
breed,
guy if your guy's a pure boxer and he has to deal with the wrestler in that setting, the wrestler's going to ragdoll him.
Yeah. And it
that's
sucks the life out of you too. It really does.
It does, man. And like my guy's hands were destroyed after the first round.
Yeah.
Like you can't prepare for that either.
Yeah, just drilling
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's a really tough sport, man, and like it takes a certain kind of guy to want to do it, and
definitely.
But I think over time, the same way MMA was new at a point, like bare knuckle, there's going to be a lot of guys with experience with cornering it, preparing guys for it. And I'm not saying I'm one of those guys, or I'm going to be one of those guys.
You want to be,
or do I want to be? Because every fighter, even like, damn man, this guy came back with his face. Like, he was another guy from our gym.
Destroyed.
It looked like it exploded. And like, he won. I was like, he won. I was like, that guy's the winner.
Yeah, it's
like,
crazy.
Oh my god, bro,
it's different.
Every fighter, hands were destroyed. Face was busted up. The winners and the losers. So it's that's a tough sport, and I hats off to all the guys who participate in it, because I don't know if I ever will again.
100%. Well, listen, Adrian, we can go down in a couple of rabbit holes here, but unfortunately, we only have so much time on Busted Lip Podcast, so
that's all right, man.
We're gonna have to cut it up. But I'll leave it with you. Anything last that you want to leave with our audience? Anything you want to put out there, whether it's promote something, just a message? I'll leave that with you, and then we'll have to say goodbye.
Well, I guess since you guys did bring me onto the Busted Up podcast, you guys have guys that are far more experienced in boxing and competing in their, designated sports, respected sports than me. But what got me to where I am today is embracing, just the gym culture, being around, even if I'm not the best in the gym, being around it always, got me to a net positive. And beyond that, I know so many guys that are talented and great, and like it just doesn't pan out as a competitive professional athlete at a certain point. And if you want to stay in, because I have a huge passion for boxing, even though like I knew that, all right, I'm not the best guy in it, but I love doing it. So where can I find a way to do this every day? And for me, it was when I picked up a pair of mitts and I started training people and training fighters and staying in it, and then jumping into the fitness space. Like, wow, there's a path where you can, and even when I first started, there wasn't a clear path to enter a fitness market, because it really wasn't embraced or welcomed as a solidified modality that, we can open up a space that is just boxing, fitness, and there's no ring. There's no sweat. There's no like bloody buckets. There's no. It's a nice studio that like looks like a Soul Cycle. Okay, but here we are teaching boxing. And like you see the hybrids now, but there's a lot more opportunities out there if you don't end up going down a route of competition, or you fall into situations like me. I had a shoulder surgery that took me out, and I was like, all right, well, what else can I do with this? Because I love doing it. And so my message out there for anybody who's in the space or in the gym, like, don't lose that. And if you do want to stay in it, it's a tough path to take, but there's a lot more opportunities now in multiple different avenues, whether it's going to be a modality for fitness that you're doing, for kickboxing, boxing, jiu-jitsu, whatever. You can train people. People want to learn this stuff. Yeah. And we need good trainers out there at the end of the day. We do.
100%. Awesome, brother.
Thanks so much, AP.
I appreciate you, Mark. Thank you, TJ.
Take care, man.
Take care, man.
Pleasure. Ciao.
Adrian Perez, everybody, on the Busted Lip Podcast.
Adrian Perez, what a guy.
Yeah, I implore everybody to go to his actual Instagram account, and it's the real Adrian Perez, and literally you'll see it's super uplifting, and he is a great trainer. He works with professional athletes, and he works with regular people on a daily basis, and he's just an all-around good guy and someone you need to follow and get 100%. Some insight from. Definitely.
Absolutely. No, great guy. But now we're going to skip into something different and something fantastic, something amazing, something very well earned, something incredible. Sure. One of the best days I've ever seen in that sport. Rory McIlroy takes the Masters Championship, the 89th Masters Championship. What a day.
It was the most neurotic round of golf I have ever seen, besides myself playing golf.
Sure. I've had a couple neurotic.
Yeah, it looked like a round of golf like that, and literally when you watched it, you were shaking your head going, he's going to implode it all over again
At any minute.
at any minute. And he held it together. And it was, I arguably, I can actually say probably one of the greatest masters of all time.
I would agree, man,
Yes.
with it good.
Yeah.
And you know what it was like? First of all, you get into the Masters, and all anybody wanted to talk about, and all anybody has wanted to talk about every year in April is Rory going to do it this time? You know, is Rory going to do it? And now he has to be the guy that walks in with that. So he's carrying all this, and he's got this burden on his back. But then we go into it, and we end up with a Sunday between Rory McIlroy and Bryson DeChambeau.
And all these other supporting cast people that we weren't paying attention to. No one was paying attention to them.
No. Yeah, Arberg and all that stuff. But I mean, but we're going into Sunday with that pairing. It was so spectacular. Everybody knew it was going to be golf gold, but we didn't think it was going to be this kind of golf gold. Like for Bryson to take the lead after 2, and then for him to
implode.
You know,
he choked.
I love Bryson.
Use the choke.
Yes.
Yeah. You said implode, and then you did the motion of choking. I prefer you use the motion of choking.
Yeah, I love Bryson DeChambeau. Don't get me wrong, bro. You know me too. Both you and I, huge fans. He's doing things for golf that nobody else has ever done, and I think he's fantastic.
1 billion views on YouTube. Yeah,
right. And he'll win the Masters. Don't get me wrong. He will.
It'll happen.
But that was not his time. Rory comes out and, goes down, double bogeys again that round.
Yeah.
And then in the meantime, we got Rose just like playing his ass off.
By himself.
All the way on his own, just chilling out.
Literally nobody watching him.
Yeah.
He's
Definitely
by himself.
not the same crowd that's watching Rory and Bryson, that's for sure.
No.
Yeah, incredible, man. Incredible. What did you see during that round when did you question if it was going to be Rory's year again?
When he laid up on the par 5, okay? He laid up on the backside on the par 5, I was like, "Oh my God. He's listening to Jack Nicklaus telling him these things what to do. Like, lay up. Don't go for it.
Take your time.
Yeah, you don't need to go for it." He goes to hit the third shot. He's like 60 yards away or 80 yards away, whatever it is. And he not even comes close. He knocks it right into the water. And I'm like, do you understand? Like, even guys that are like a 10 handicap, 15 handicap, they would not knock it in the water from that close. They would probably knock it in the back bunker or on the green.
Yeah.
But he knocked it right into the water. And I thought, here we go again. Here we go again. He's going to implode. And it's like, then he gets to the next hole and he hits the shot, his second shot, like,
Best shot I've ever seen. One of the best shots I've ever seen.
Me too, ever. Yeah. Right? It was Tiger-esque, like the 2-iron that he hit back in the day. It was like, what? And he does these things of magic that you go, what the hell? Why can he do that? Then we get to 18 and he misses a 5-footer, and we're all sitting there going, he's gonna miss. He's gonna miss. Everybody said he's gonna miss. Then he misses it. And then you watch him make the walk from the green to the tee mark, where you do your scorecard. And you're like, this guy's he might not even make it, like, physically. Like, he might drop on the floor. He might just not even make it. He gets ready and goes to the overtime on the 18th hole. And literally, Justin Rose gets up there and cranks one down the middle like he's been on the range for an hour just warming up.
And he was training. And the thing is, he's only swinging for those yardages.
Just for the driver. Yeah. He's not taking out an iron.
His 8-iron, whatever it was.
He knew.
To go here,
he knew.
And here, and here.
Yeah.
And he's chilling. Whereas Rory just went through the most stressful putt of his life.
Yeah.
And he has to regroup, go back up there. And this is what I loved about it so much. And like, bro, I gotta be honest with you. And I was talking to a friend about this last night. I'm a grown man watching this thing, and I'm a guy that doesn't get too caught up in stuff, emotional, whatever the case. I'm watching it, and as this guy's describing Rory's upbringing and his parents, and having a job.
They weren't lifestyles of the rich and famous. No.
They most certainly were not. And that story they told about the last token going into that ball dispenser, and Rory saying, "Dad, I want to hit more." His dad says, "Sorry, I don't have any more until Tuesday." But let me tell you this, you hit every one of those 30 balls like it's the shot that counts for the Masters.
Yeah.
And then Rory's standing over that putt, and I'm getting goosebumps again just thinking about it.
Yep.
But for him to be able to do it in the fashion that he did, and in a sense, struggle the way he did.
I agree.
To show the world that he really is as resilient and as courageous as he says he was, in order to go in there and can maintain his composure after Rose punched that perfect shot. Rory does it one up, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, you better work drive."
Come on, when they were standing on the 18th tee box, be honest with me now. You think Rose has got this in the bag?
Yes, I thought it was Rose's jacket.
You have to think that.
I wish I didn't. I wish I didn't.
No, everybody did because
Yeah, I did.
Rose literally shot 66 yesterday.
He sure did.
He lit it up.
He was lights out.
Lights out.
He was lights out on that hole too. He parred that 18th hole with a perfect par.
No. But in the overtime, right?
Yeah,
but what
yeah,
I'm saying
yeah,
is,
he
did
hit
you
a beautiful
the
putt,
putt
birdie
he
putt.
made?
Yeah.
The putt he made on 18 Rose
Yeah.
the first time around was a 35 footer he made. So
Slippery putt too.
Yeah, a slippery putt. He made a 35 footer. If he didn't knock it in, it would have went in the bunker. That's how hard he hit it.
Yeah.
So literally, he had to make this huge putt to even make it to that. You know, if I was Justin Rose right now, I wouldn't be that sour that I lost the Masters because
no.
he had to literally stand on his head and make a 35 footer on the last hole to even get in a playoff.
And then on top of that, Rory goes out there, and this is the thing. This is what I love about it. Rory didn't just win the Masters in easy fashion. He was up by 5. None of that stuff. He had all the pressure on him. Now, and
I
again,
agree.
I don't know if any other golfer has ever played the Masters with as much pressure as Rory in this.
Nobody.
Sense that because of this,
Nobody.
10 years no major, 17 years no Masters. One of the greatest golfers of his generation, and he still hasn't got that jacket. He still doesn't have this thing, this career, Grand Slam that they've got going on now. To stand up there and hit that drive that he hit on 18 in the playoff, and then to hit the second shot.
The second shot was more impressive.
3 feet.
Yeah, the second was more impressive.
Bunker the first time.
Yeah.
And like, bro, we play a lot of golf. Anybody that's listening that's played a lot of golf, you stand over a shot that you just hit poorly, it's not easy to hit it well.
No.
And now on top of that, you're in the Masters with all that weight on your shoulders, and then to stand over that putt and make it, and for him to break down like that, and who was what's the announcer's name again? I can't remember, but a great announcer.
Yeah.
To be telling that beautiful story about Rory's family and all that stuff, and then Rory drains the putt, he breaks down into tears. Bro, I had tears coming down my face, man.
We had the Sunday brunch at the Pavlich home. Mrs. P made up a beautiful brunch. I had my friends over, and there was tears by everybody watching that because it's a human struggle story. Okay, Rory didn't come from he didn't come from the Vanderbilts. Okay,
No.
he had to go through this thing, and there's a story out there too that most people don't know about the dryer story where they used to use the dryer to hit balls into the dryer, and they used the the old dryer, and he was like using it for chipping and that kind of thing. And that's what people don't understand. This is the kind of way he came up. He didn't come up in the country club lifestyle. And this kid grinded it out. And you can say whatever you want. There was a big thing about Rory back in the day when the whole live thing was going on in the PGA Tour, and there was a lot of hate going towards his way. And at times I was probably one of those people. But you know what the crazy part was? I then started to realize that this guy, if the PGA Tour owes anybody any money, they owe Rory McIlroy. Number one, more than anybody else. He turned down $500 million to go to live golf.
But you know what? It showed now, knowing more about his story. And I always knew that he came from not much. I never really looked into it too much. But I knew that he wasn't like a little rich kid. But now knowing more after watching this Masters and really digging into his story and realizing where he came from, it's like I know what it's like to try to train really hard for something when you don't have much, and to see it come to fruition and to see him be able to get that satisfaction. I also know now why he turned down live golf. I know why.
Yeah, of course. Now you do know. Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah,
he
me too.
was more concerned about legacy and maintaining the integrity of the sport that he loves so much.
Correct.
That he busted his ass and his parents sacrificed everything. His parents are still together as well, by the way.
It's crazy.
Kudos to them, to the
Yeah,
McIlroy
man.
family.
Yeah, man.
Because honestly, not having much and having kids, it's not easy to stay together. They did it. They sacrificed for their boy. Now he's the Masters champion. He's got a career Grand Slam, man.
The best.
Like,
listen, and you know what's funny? There was a lot of things going on with him and his wife separating. He filed for divorce. A lot of stuff in it. Like you talk about a lot of like disassociation, a lot of up and down kind of weird stuff going on with this guy, and he still figured a way mentally to put it together, regroup. The second shot in overtime on 18,
spectacular.
Unbelievable. Like to do that after Rose,
That shot shape too. Like,
it was nuts. And listen, congratulations, Roy McIlroy, because you deserve it. And guys, you better buckle up and start hitting some balls because we still got now the U.S. Open, the PGA, and the British Open left.
Rory's coming for it, man. I'm telling
you better be
Rory's
careful. Possibly the only one that can do this, the real Grand Slam in one season. That is, we talk about the career Grand Slam. It used to be just the Grand Slam. He's the one that can do it. You better watch out. He hits the ball way too far. Even Bryson found that out when they played together. He's like, he
outdrove Bryson several times.
Several times, right? And usually when Bryson plays with anybody, he's literally 60 to 80 yards in front of anybody else. And
Rory's one of the best drivers of the golf ball.
And we can say this on the show for the first time ever. He's got the greatest swing in the history of golf.
Yeah.
Undisputed. I used to think it was Ben Hogan. It is now Rory McIlroy. Undisputed. Greatest swing in the history of golf.
Yeah, you know what? Like, I don't know. All of it was so awesome, and I agree. I think that he could be coming for a lot more. I think that him breaking through and getting that weight off of his shoulders. Now he's got it. That's going to free him up, I think. And again, talking about all the personal stuff he had in his life, to watch him going and hugging his wife, pick up his little girl, the best. Like it made me so happy because he went through all that crap with Live Golf. He went through all the crap on the
He stuck out for the PGA Tour while no one else was doing it. No one else was helping him. Yeah.
He's getting what he deserves now, and you know what? He's not getting what he deserves. He's getting what he earned.
Hey, there you go. I agree.
Big difference.
I agree.
And watching him do it the way that he did, man, not one of my favorite moments in sports recently. It was fantastic. Fantastic.
We just want to thank our guest tonight, Adrian Perez, for being on the show. Fitness guru. I called him that, everybody. He's a fitness guru. Don't forget next week, everybody, the one and only Mexican Picasso, I call him. He's the Mexican Picasso. Stitch Duran. The Stitch Duran on the show next week.
I'm so excited for that, man. I've watched Stitch Duran work for years and years and years, and he was bigger than a cut man has ever even come
it's
close
nuts.
to. He's eclipsed all of that. He's been in movies.
Yes.
I can't wait to hear some of the stories he's got.
And don't forget about our fantastic sponsors at Crystal Glass, your clear choice for all your glass needs. Call 310 Glass or go to crystalglass.ca today. And don't forget, everybody, join us, follow us, subscribe easily at Busted Lip Podcast, at Busted Lip Podcast on every social media platform. Check it out today. Please subscribe. And TJ and I will be happier when our numbers keep going higher and higher and higher.
We certainly will. We got to bring all you to the Masters in the next couple of years. So subscribe. I mean, it's only going to get us closer.
Listen, you know what? Subscribe so TJ and I can go to the Masters. Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to start a GoFundMe, but you don't have to donate a thing. You just have to count the subscribe button.
Oh my God, that's right. That's all we want. We just want subscribe,
GoFundMe, and it's just subscribe. We'll get there with all of the help of all of you on the backs of our subscribers.
That's right.
And we'll honor you with the best content possible.
Exactly.
There you go. Cheers, everybody.
I done tussle with a whale. I done handcuff lightning, throw thunder in jail. That's bad. I know you got him picked, but the man's in trouble. I'm gonna show you how great I am.
I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one can stop me.
I don't want that person to come out, because if he comes out, hell is coming with him.
What the name?